Welcome to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast, where we explore root cause medicine, engage in conversation with functional and integrative medicine experts, and build community with like-minded health seekers. I'm your host, Amber Warren. Let's dig deeper. Welcome back, everybody. We're here at our Meridian location, hanging out in the lobby where we have our beautiful kitchen. So we're happy to be back in Meridian filming today's podcast. So today I have Faith with me. Faith is a certified trauma-informed breathwork guide and an artist. She has the honor and privilege of holding sacred space for people just like you as they dive deep into their own bodies through the power of their breath. As a guide, she helps to facilitate a safe place for everyone to heal in their limited beliefs, relief trauma, find relaxation deep within your body, and surrender to the power that everybody holds. Each and every one of us hold on to so much wisdom from within our body. When we allow ourselves to come to stillness, we're able to embody the wisdom that lives within. As an intuitive artist, she creates space for clients to explore their own creativity through the power of safety. Over the years, she has heard countless times that people make the statement that they're not artistic in any way, and she doesn't believe that to be true. It's through our own limited beliefs that we block our own creativity and ability to allow creativity to flow through us. Art is such a beautiful way to embody, to expand, and to release. Through guided sessions, she empowers those who work with her to lean into the expressions that are to be called in front of the embodiment level. We explore joy, empowerment, sadness, grief, anger, and so much more. It's such a beautiful bio.
Thank you.
And I got to experience, I actually attended one of your somatic breathwork sessions. Is that last summer?
Yeah,
I think it was
so.
like 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And it was so, and to be honest, I mean, Faith, I used what I learned in that session. And I think I always thought I knew how to breathe, right? Especially as a healthcare practitioner that focuses so much on stress relief. And, but man, most of us don't.
Yeah.
Like I truly left being like, I don't know how to take deep breaths.
Yeah.
So it's so good and so powerful, and you're doing so much good work. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So how did you get into this field? Share with us how you arrived here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So I really got to this place because of my own story. As a child, I grew up in a household that was filled with mental illness and addiction, and I truly never felt safe in my home. And so what that alluded to is then as I, went into adolescence and into my teen years, into a young adult, I really struggled with a lot of things that I needed answers to.
Right.
And that was, I was a constant people pleaser. I was totally codependent. I would always look to the outside of like, if everybody else was good, then I was okay to be good.
Yeah.
And so I felt, quote unquote, lost for a really long time. And so I felt at the point of finding breathwork, I had read all the books. I'd done all the things. Mindset work is beautiful.
Right.
But I really didn't feel like I could actually tell what was going on inside of my body. Didn't feel connected to my body because I had disassociated for so long. I really didn't know actually what was my truth. And so I was going to a yoga studio and I happened to walk in and there was a poster on the wall that said psychedelic breath. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is a yoga studio. Like, it was so confusing, but there was this curiosity. And so there was something inside of me that just said, get yourself in the room. Like, get yourself in the room. And I don't say this lightly, but the version of myself that walked in that room that day was not the same version that walked out.
And how old were you when you had this?
This was 6 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was the first time that I actually really, truly could feel what was going on inside of my body from a place of like, wow, like there is actually a connection. I'd hear people talk about it and I just really didn't understand what they were talking about feeling connected and having this, intuition. Like, sure enough, I would like, things would come in my mind or my heart and I'd be like, okay, whatever, like we got to make sure everybody else is good, And so I really truly was able to feel what was actually going on in my body and listen for the very first time. And it was at that moment that I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help people see the incredible power that they hold in themselves. Like we look so much on the outside for validation, for security, for feeling enough, for, wanting to feel like where I am is okay to be. And when you land in the power of your breath, it truly is that ability to like be reminded of like, I am enough now here in this moment and really connect to yourself. So in the short, that's how I got here.
Cool. And you feel like you learned how to breathe in that session.
Really, truly. it was kind of one of those of like, what on earth just happened and how do I get more of that? And that just kind of set the trajectory of like, I want to know everything about what breathwork is. I want to figure out and find out how I can implement this in my life every single day. And so, it unfolded into this journey of where I am today. And, I really think that anytime we're holding space for anybody, it starts with us. And so it's been this incredible journey in my own skin, to be able to, root myself in a place of, being really grounded in my own body and who I am, to be able to hold that space for other people. And it's just an honor. And I am so privileged every time I get to land with somebody in their breath.
That's amazing. Well, I can tell you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's just break it down.
Yeah.
Breath work. Because I say it all the time, ways that we can calm down your nervous system and help to fix your hormones, like walk outside, be in nature, earth, do breath work.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing now, even talking to you, like I probably need to break that down.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying eat healthy. Well, what does that mean? Just do breath work. Well, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So let's help people know kind of where to start.
Yeah. So, I think it's important to like break down a little bit of the science of like what breathwork actually is. So when we're tapping into our breath, especially somatic breathwork, soma meaning of the body, somatic breathwork is really that active meditation. And so what we're doing is we're tapping into, like you said, regulating our nervous system. And so as we can focus on our breath and connect to our breath, we're actually sending a signal to our brain of like, hey, you're safe to relax, right? Like years ago, as we were cavemen, we would go out into the jungle and our sympathetic nervous system would come online because the threat of being actually chased by a lion was very real, right? And so as we tapped into that sympathetic nervous system, we went and gathered our food, came back to our cave, our parasympathetic nervous system could come back online, the threat is no longer there, and we could go about our day. In modern society now, we often are living from the sympathetic nervous system standpoint, right? Between our to-do lists, our activities outside of, our work, as a mom, as, a dad, it doesn't
Social
really
media.
matter.
We were
Social
talking
media.
offline about social media, children.
All of it.
The distraction, the constant distraction.
We've really, truly lost the ability to create this space for us to feel, right? Like, even when we have a lull, the first thing so many of us do, we're all guilty of it at times, is get our phone out, right?
I know.
And so when we're creating this space through our breath, when we're actually tapping into our breath, what we're doing is we're sending a signal as we focus on that conscious breath. We're sending a signal to our brain of like, hey, you're actually not being chased by a lion.
Right.
And we can tap into that parasympathetic nervous system. And as we tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, it gives our body the ability to rest, to digest, to, come to the space of ease. And what I really know to be true is our trauma, our limited beliefs, the things that we have not processed really live in our tissue.
Amen.
Fully.
Yeah.
And so, as we're living in this sympathetic nervous system in a day-to-day, we've got digestive issues, we've got high blood pressure, we have anxiety, we're suffering from a lot of stress, we're not giving ourselves the space to just land. And so truly when we're tapping into our breath, that is what we're doing. We're giving ourselves the ability to not only create the consciousness within our own system, but regulating our nervous system from a deep, deep level within our bodies.
So scientifically speaking,
Yeah.
how does that somatic breath work different from just like a meditative state?
Yeah, I love this question. So meditation, we talk about meditation as being more of a top-down approach, right? So when you're meditating, you're not necessarily trying to get the thoughts to quiet, but you're trying to get them to be calm and to become at ease, right? Often it's hard for people to just, land on their mat and go into that deep meditative state. And so what we're doing when we're meditating is that exactly when our mind can come to ease, we're able to then find that connection to our body and then tap into that. Again, for a lot of people, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And the different approach about breath work is we call it a bottom-up approach. So once you're focusing on your natural breath, creating that safety within your own body, focusing on your own natural breath, you're then sending a signal up into your mind of like, hey, again, you're not being chased by a lion. You actually can come to ease. And so we're not fighting with the mind. Our mind is this beautiful, beautiful gift, right? It's this beautiful thing. And our mind is here to keep us safe. And so as we're tapping into something we've never done before, as we're landing in maybe something, that feels really heavy, our mind is going to want to loop, right? And so if we can send the signal from a loving space of like, you actually can rest, like it's okay, we're then able to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system from such a beautiful, wholehearted space without the fight of trying to, quote unquote, quiet your mind.
Right.
And so breathwork really is an active meditation. I love to meditate, but I need to tap into my breath first before I can really drop into that state.
It just helps get you there sooner,
Absolutely.
more quickly, and probably stay there in a more successful way.
And the biggest thing, as a guide myself, the biggest thing is creating that safety, the safety for a breather to land. And as that breather, the biggest thing for them to be able to land in their bodies is creating the safety for themselves. And so really when you're able to tap into that safety by sending the signal to your brain to like actually be able to land on your mat, it creates just this beautiful ability to have this coherence and capacity to hold yourself in such a beautiful way. And you're conscious the entire time. Like you're always in control. I think that's one of the things that people struggle with at times of like, I have a lot to work through. Like, I'm scared, and it's like, that totally makes sense. And your body's not going to give you anything that you can't handle. And so it gets to be gentle. It gets to be, you get to be held. It gets to be safe. And you get to control, how fast, how slow, however, whatever looks good for you and feels good in your body. That's the capacity that we're going to hold. So.
Are you tired of cookie-cutter health that doesn't address your unique needs? It's time to discover functional medicine care designed to help you flourish. At FMI, you'll gain access to a range of benefits tailored to support optimal health and longevity. Experience the power of personalized care and take control of your health with an annual membership at FMI Center for Optimal Health. Visit www.fmioptimal.com/membership today and start thriving.
My favorite part about the somatic breathing, the breath work, even meditation, all of it is, I work with so many patients that like they can't handle one more to do. The nutritional recommendations, adding on exercise, taking the supplements, doing the protocol is so overwhelming for them. But being able to just calm down the nervous system and bring in the breath work, it's 3 or 4 minutes in bed. It's in the car at a stoplight. It's during your morning routine, right? I mean, am I right?
Absolutely.
Like there's so many benefits just even working in a couple minutes here and there to help get your nervous system calmed down. So for those patients who are like, I don't even, like you were kind of alluding to, I don't even know where to start. I've got so much. I know I'm storing and I'm holding on to so much. How do you recommend they start? What's a good starting place that's not overwhelming?
Yeah. So I always tell people, if you've got 3 minutes, especially like even a minute. I mean, if you've got 1 minute, and the best time to really start a breath practice, I always say is first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So, first thing you get up, maybe drink a glass of water, put your feet on the ground, sit on the side of your bed if that feels most supportive, and just take really deep breaths. Deep breath in through your nose and slowly out your mouth, and just focus on like rooting your feet on the ground. Giving yourself the space to just feel what it feels like. What's actually present in my body?
Yeah.
Where am I right now? Often people, when I talk to people about, when they come in, I ask them, how's your morning? Often people wake up anxious.
I know.
How do you go to sleep at night? I have a really hard time getting my mind to quiet. Those are the 2 most beautiful times to be able to connect to your breath. And so I always say starting out first thing in the morning is the most beautiful place because you're kind of in that in-between state anyway. You're kind of, you're awake, but you're still nice and relaxed. Again, if you wake up feeling pretty anxious, you can give yourself the ability to like start your day from a grounded position. And there's no wrong way to do it. I always tell people like, do I do this or how do I do that? And how do I know if I'm breathing correctly? And it's like, no, if we can just take it one step at a time. If you're breathing in and you're breathing out, you can't do it wrong.
So you're not one that's like diaphragmatic. Don't let your chest rise. Don't like you're like, just chill on all the details and just breathe.
If that's what's hard for you to be able to create that space, absolutely. Okay. And then I would say, I always say, place your hand on your heart or your belly and like feel your belly expand on your inhale, because so many of us are breathing from this space of like, just like almost hyperventilating in our day to day. If you can actually breathe from your diaphragm, if you can create that space to actually breathe and connect to your breath, anything is possible,
Yeah.
you know? And I think you bring up such a beautiful point too. I wanted to add is like, you know, having a one-on-one session or a group session with a practitioner such as myself is so beautiful. And it's so much more important to be able to integrate it into your day. So like you touched on it, like when you're stopping at a stoplight, when you're, you know, first thing in the morning, like we talked about, before you're going to have a really hard conversation with maybe a loved one, when you're going to talk to your boss and, you know, maybe you're feeling really nervous, like connecting to your breath and really reminding yourself of what's actually present and what's just the story in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us, we're stopped at a stoplight, we're running late. The story in our mind is like, oh my gosh, like all these things are going to happen. And this is like the worst thing ever. My days are like all the things. And if we could just like connect to it and remind ourselves like our truth right now, like the truth in the matter is like, there's nothing that we can do in this moment, right? Except breathe.
And guess what? The story will go on. I will show up.
Yeah.
The meeting will still happen. The kids are going to be 5 minutes late for school. Worst case scenario, they're 5 minutes late from school.
Exactly.
And they're walking in tardy.
Yep.
Like, to get yourself all worked up. Yeah. No, I know. It's such a good reminder. It's almost like, it makes me think, and this is probably totally off topic and a little out there, but like this concept of time. Like, I hate that we're such slaves to the time of when we have to, I mean, the world, you have to have some kind of organization, but it's it feels like such an enemy to us.
Yeah.
Like a trap.
Yeah.
That everything has to be. Like, I love weekends, and my husband and I try to not plan on the weekend because I'm like, I don't want to necessarily have to be anywhere at a certain time.
Yeah,
the spontaneous
absolutely.
dinner date comes up or friends come over for dinner. I love that.
Yeah.
But like to plan something and you're like, oh, it's 3, better get the meat ready, and I better shower and do my hair. Like
all the things.
It's such an interesting concept to feel like you're such a slave to a clock.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's beautiful that you can create that space that you don't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying. So tell us more about the work that you do. You hold workshops. Do you hold one-on-one sessions?
Yeah.
What about people that aren't here in the Treasure Valley? Can you connect with people virtually?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So I do one-on-one sessions in person in downtown Boise. I do one-on-one sessions over Zoom. I meet with people all over the world, which is so beautiful.
That's awesome.
I love technology for being able to have the accessibility. It's absolutely beautiful. And one-on-ones is really kind of where I do hold a lot of one-on-ones, which I love. And I love it for so many reasons, but the biggest reason is to be able to witness people for a longevity, for a period of time, to really like go deep into what's present is so rewarding. It's so beautiful to be able to hold that space for people. So I love doing one-on-ones. I do group workshops all the time here in the Treasure Valley area. I also am willing to go other places, but mainly here in the Treasure Valley as of now. And I love that as well. I love holding workshops because it's so beautiful to come together as a community. I think sometimes people, they enjoy the one-on-one, and they're a little bit nervous about doing the group sessions, and then they get in a group session, they're like, actually, that was really beautiful, right? Yeah. There's a vulnerability in it, but there's also so much beauty.
Well, there's so much data in healing as a community.
Absolutely.
And just being in numbers in a community. Like, you cannot deny that science that's there. So I can see that there's probably a lot of power in those group sessions.
And it's really neat too, because I always make an effort to give space at the end where we can, share and we can connect and really like authentically relate to each other. And it's so neat. I've had so many people come up to me after and say, I was nervous to share in the group, but, once I did, or once I heard so-and-so's story, like I realized like I wasn't alone in, feeling this way, or I resonated so much with that person's story. Like we do, as you said, we heal so beautifully in a community, based situation. And it's so neat to see who comes into those groups, to see kind of how, sometimes there's nerves, and in the end, it's like you've met a new friend or friends, it's really neat. I really, really enjoy that. And I hope in the near future to start doing retreats. I really, really, really feel like there's a need for a deep reset and the ability to just connect to self in a prolonged period of time. So that's definitely coming.
The retreat idea is so intriguing to me because I think that people don't realize their innate ability to heal because they're stuck in this tornado of an environment where life is just so chaotic and crazy. And I think it sometimes takes people to get out of their environment and put them in a healing place, and be like, this is how you can feel. Yeah. And this is how you should feel. And this is how you deserve to feel.
Absolutely.
You deserve to feel calm. You don't deserve to feel on fire and anxious and reactionary all the time. one of my biggest concerns as we're seeing that just the shift in our world is people, and we touched on this earlier a little, is people are so out of touch with their own bodies and their own body's responses. And it's really concerning to me. We've got all these wearables that tell us when we're anxious or when we don't have good heart rate variability or when our cortisol is high or low. I mean, I don't know if we have a wearable that tells us about cortisol, but I'm sure it's coming. And I'm like, oh no. People don't have to know how they feel anymore. They don't have to be in touch with their body anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where the power of breath work comes in, right? Because you force yourself to get in tune.
Yeah. Well, and I really truly believe if we want to feel better, we have to be better feelers.
Yeah.
And so, I think not only does breathwork give us the ability to connect to self from that standpoint, but it also gives us such a solid foundation to be able to show up for our loved ones in a way that is authentic, that's real, right? If we're walking around as parents, as leaders, as spouses in a hyperactive state all the time in that sympathetic nervous system, we can't possibly not only show up for ourselves in a authentic way and from like a grounded space, but we're not able to show up for our loved ones in that space.
That's such a good point.
And so I think it's so important not only for our own health, obviously, which is hugely important, but for the ability to show up as the parent that we want to show up as, show up as a leader that we want to show up as, create that space and that solid foundation within our own self. And, I think so often we're going around from these different experiences that we've experienced and having these limited beliefs of like, what's possible, what's actually not possible. Going through trauma that we've gone through, like what are the disconnect that we have that we're holding on to that actually is no longer serving us? That's just that story. And so as we tap into our breath, we're able to, peel back that onion of like, what actually is my truth? Like, what's the story I've been telling myself? Where have I been living?
What are the falsehoods?
Yeah, with a false sense of like, this is actually true. And like, what actually is true now, right? And so it taps into so many different things that are so important, and it can feel really overwhelming. But as we talked about in the beginning, like our body is only going to show us what we can actually handle in that moment. And so it gets to be gentle. You get to titrate that experience. And I think that's what's so incredible about holding a space of like a retreat, because it takes a long time for our mind and our body to titrate the experiences that we go through in a breathwork session. We move a lot of energy in those sessions. And so where it's so nice to have that time in a workshop or a one-on-one, I always tell people, if you have the ability to take the next couple hours and, have that silence or the ability to be just really gracious within yourself, do so. But I think when you're in a retreat standpoint, when you're in that space to have, this space where you can just be with yourself, it's so beautiful to be able to connect and to be able to titrate and give yourself that space that you deserve.
Yeah. No, I follow you on Instagram, and some of your and I know they're very spontaneous and unplanned, but some of the things that I know are just put on your heart to share, like the world needs to hear some of your messages.
Thank you.
Because they're such good reminders in the hustle bustle of our crazy weeks and our crazy days, just to be like, be still, be present.
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
Be intuitive and listen to your body. And what a gift. I'm even just thinking out loud here, like, I'm thinking about how I respond to my kids, just what I've learned from my own like nervous system journey and breathwork journey, even just what I've learned from you, to like get on eye level with my children when they're anxious and when they get worked up about something, like, baby, breathe. Watch mama breathe. Or I lay in bed with them at night and we're saying our prayers, but we're, breathing together. Like, what a gift we can share with this next generation to help keep them calm and help keep help them view the world
Absolutely.
in a more calm way.
Yeah.
Do you ever do like children workshops, like or like mom and me? Like that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've really been thinking about a lot more, especially lately, having a teenager myself and having a preteen.
Kids need to breathe.
Kids need to breathe. And you'd be surprised, the younger kiddos, they do have, like, if you actually watch them, you can sense you can see their breathing. It does become, really rapid when they become anxious.
Oh, yeah.
But they have a better ability of being able to regulate themselves. I feel like as they get into like that preteen and teenage years, it's picking up the phone. It's going on social media.
I was going to say, because
video games.
The kids, the 7, 8, 9-year-olds, hopefully haven't been become dysregulated yet.
Yeah.
They haven't had their nervous systems jacked around with yet.
Well, and they're a lot more connected to themselves from a different space because of that.
Yeah,
But
so true.
Yeah. So, and just to kind of go back to like what breath work what makes it so powerful is when we're tapping into that conscious breath, right? In a session, we're connecting to that conscious breath. We're going through a breath pattern. You're getting cues by a practitioner such as myself, and we're using music and movement. And I think what's so beautiful is when you tap into your body from a space of your breath, from intuitive movement. You know, you're lying on your mat, but it's not a stillness practice. You don't have to be there still.
Right.
You're able to connect to your body in such a wholehearted way that I think breathwork really truly is for anybody and everybody.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. That's a really good point. One of the most beautiful things. Not everybody has the, unfortunately, affordability to go to a gym and get a great workout in, or, you know, take a big supplement protocol or eat organic food, but everybody can breathe.
Yeah.
And breathe in the right way.
Yeah. And you'd be shocked of how regulating your nervous system, obviously, as you know, on a regular basis, like being able to catch the cues of, you know, when you're starting to feel anxious, you know, or catch the cue of when you feel like you're going to have a hard conversation, or, you know,
or make a
going
big
through
decision in your life.
Or make a big decision. Yeah.
That's a lot of times when I'm like, use the breath work and the heart math, just anything to help calm your nervous system. When you have a really big decision to make, you know, it really helps to get you in the right mind space.
And even on the flip side of that, like, it's not just for, you know, the overwhelm and all those, but like really being able to allow yourself to tap into the joy, into the abundance and the gratitude of like being present.
Presence,
The presence of it. I mean, that's really what it is bringing yourself back to this present moment.
Yeah.
And so being able to tap into all of it, and the reminder that none of it is bad and wrong. Like, in this human experience, we are gifted to have the ability to experience it all.
Yeah.
And why not experience it all from a present state within our body, in our own authenticity?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah. What a cool journey you've been on, and your
Yeah.
ability to just bless people and help people to heal. And I just love, you know, what we do. Our work is so different, but it works so well together. And like, I'm not your gifts are your gifts. And I love recommending your workshops and just even recommending your social media to be like, this will help guide you. Because I don't want them to feel overwhelmed, which is one more thing I have to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're doing is so wonderful. How can people find you and find out more about you and your workshops?
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm on Instagram, faith.paintedsoul.
Okay.
And then I do have a website, my first and last name, faithduckett.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's such a wonderful discussion. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast. For more information on topics covered today, specialties available at the FMI Center for Optimal Health, and the highest quality of supplements and more, go to funmedfoundations.com.